Hey guys, so HT here, and I am back with another reaction video. Oh boy, I'm continuing Something Sweet to Bite, the fanfic reading by Emogak. And yes, we do remember what happened in the last part. Yeah, the ending of the part where Pinky and the 5 little fiddlers were decorating Twilight's house, and they would figure out what to do for Nightmare Night. Of course, they needed costumes and stuff. But I am wondering what's gonna happen in this part. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this started. In 3. Oh, hold on. Let me adjust the volume. Starting in 3, 2, 1. Click.
Warning. The following reading contains subject matter that some listeners might find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised.
Kagome. Emogak.
Outside, Applebloom and Scootaloo
Now
were
we're
down
seeing
the street.
Sweetie Belle.
Applebloom kicked at a pile of dead leaves. Any chores, real or made up, forgotten as the pair headed towards Sweet Apple Acres in the privacy of their clubhouse. Applebloom was still furious.
I just can't believe Diamond Tiara. Why does she and Silver Spoon always gotta turn everything into a competition? I mean, land sakes, Nightmare Night is supposed to be fun. Who cares who gets the most candy or not?
Seemed like you did back there,
Chimed in Scootaloo, crunching a few dead leaves herself.
I know.
Applebloom sighed heavily.
Well, how long have those leaves been laying there on the ground?
Those get under my skin worse than ticks on a hound dog. But it's too late to back down now. We gotta find a way to beat them.
Scootaloo gave her wings a few hummingbird-like flutters as she bounced into the air, trying to cheer her friend up.
but that shouldn't be too hard. It's 3 against 2. Even if we did end up leaving a little candy for Nightmare Moon.
Applebloom glared at her friend, who quickly added,
Which we're not. I'm just saying, even if we did, we should still have more candy than they do at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I guess you're right, Scootaloo.
Yeah, you have 3 in your group,
smiling as some of
and
her
Diamond
anger
Tiara
drained
has
away.
2 in her group.
Those two ain't got a chance against the combined might of the cutie microsaders.
Yep.
Be so sure of that.
Yeah, they always lose.
Sweetie Belle, as she finally caught up with her two
You know,
friends.
Diamond Tiara and Silver
Remember
Spoon.
what happened at the egg hunt during the last Spring has Sprung celebration?
Scootaloo tilted her head back, as if she were trying to visualize the event that Rarity's little sister spoke of.
Yeah, Diamond Tiara bet she could find the most chocolate eggs. We thought for sure we had beat her. But then it turned out
yeah.
she had a good 50 baskets worth of chocolate. I had no idea there were even that many eggs hidden. That's because there weren't that many hidden.
Sweetie Belle slowed to a canter beside her friends as she caught her breath. The trio turned onto the dirt road that led out of town. It wouldn't be much longer until they were at their clubhouse.
I overheard my sister gossiping a while after that, and she was saying that Diamond Tiara didn't even bother hunting for any eggs. Instead, her father had just gotten her an entire
So,
pile
I
of
believe
chocolates
that
from
Applejack's
his
not
outlet
gonna
store.
be in this
All
part.
she did while we were running around
Yeah, we
like
do
a
remember
bunch of
in the last
agitated
part,
chickens was filling
yeah,
their baskets laughing the whole
Applejack
time.
gets impaled and
That's cheating.
chokes on her
Why
own
didn't you say something
blood.
sooner, Sweetie Belle?
Demanded Applebloom, stomping in the dust.
Well, I didn't want Rarity to know I was eavesdropping on her. Besides, we had already forked over our eggs months ago. There was no getting them back.
Sweetie Belle looked down sadly as she walked.
Rarity was just as outraged when it happened. But there was nothing any pony could do. There was no rule against some pony finding a pallet full of eggs. So you think she's going to do the same thing this time?
Asked Scootaloo as the trio weaved their way through the outskirts of the apple orchard.
You think she's going to get filthy rich to just buy her a bunch of candy and then she'll say she collected it? I wouldn't doubt it. I don't remember seeing her or Silver Spoon once while we were trick-or-treating with Pinkie Pie last year.
Said Sweetie Belle matter-of-factly.
So that's it. We're beat before we even start.
Applebloom smacked her head dramatically into the front door of the Cutie Mark Crusaders clubhouse.
We're done for.
Not necessarily.
Said Sweetie Belle as she gently nudged Applebloom out of the way so she could open the door. The unicorn filly rummaged in her saddlebags as her friends followed in behind her.
Though, we'd never be able to come up with that kind of money Diamond Tiara's dad has. There is something we can do.
Carefully, Sweetie Belle spread the pages she snatched at the library on the tiny table the fillies used to make their plans. Scootaloo examined the old wrinkled paper.
Hey, aren't those pages from the old book Pinkie Pie was trying to show us? Yep.
Yeah, it's basically all the candy corn and the gumdrops
I
and
noticed something about these pages.
maybe
when we
lollipops.
left the library. A lot of that books looks like
Maybe
history
chocolate
and
eggs.
mythology. Except these pages right here are recipes for all different kinds of classic Nightmare Night treats and candies.
Sweetie Belle beamed, self-satisfied in her own brilliance, but her friends just stared at her.
Don't you get it? We can't buy extra candy like that cheating diamond tiara, but we can make extra candy instead.
Scootaloo screwed up her face suspiciously.
So to counter her cheating, we'll cheat too? Don't think of it as cheating.
Said Sweetie Belle, smoothing out the parchment.
Think of it as evening the playing field. We'll still go trick-or-treating on Nightmare Night, but if Silver Spoon and Diamond Tiara don't, then we'll have more candy than they do for sure. This is just to make sure they play fair. And since the pages seem to have all the original recipes for a variety of candy, no pony can accuse us for just buying store-bought candy. It's the perfect plan.
I don't know, Sweetie Belle.
Said Apple Bloom.
It seems a mite dishonest to me.
I'm with Apple Bloom.
Said Scootaloo, settling on her haunches.
I want to put those two high and mighty fillies in their place as much as the next pony, but this doesn't feel right.
Scootaloo looked
Yeah,
over the pages.
I don't
And
think
besides,
cheating would solve
it
the
seems like it might be a
problem.
lot of work too. We're not exactly the best chefs in Ponyville. Pretty much everything we try to cook, we end up burning.
She made a face, remembering a few
Yeah, we do
incidents
know
with some
that
very
fillies
burnt
don't cook.
cupcakes,
That's
They're
the
too
best
young
part.
to cook.
said Sweetie Belle excitedly.
I've been looking for something to do with my sister for Nightmare Night since she won't let me help make costumes. Rarity is a great cook, and I'm sure she'll help me make all kinds of sweets. I bet if Apple Bloom asked Applejack, she would help out too. That's actually not a bad plan.
Said Scootaloo thoughtfully.
I could probably talk to Pinkie Pie and get her to help me make some candy as well. Pinkie's always looking for an excuse to make more sweets.
The trick there is keeping her from eating what she makes.
Giggled Apple Bloom.
But I don't know, girls. Are y'all sure you want to do this? I ain't one to take back from a challenge. It's just, even with the help, I gotta say, I still have my doubts.
You know, it could be a big risk for a filly
Said
like
Sweetie Belle,
you.
passing each filly a page from the old Nightmare Night book with her magic.
Do you really think you can stand to see that smug look on Diamond Tiara's face when she takes all our candy again? It's more beautiful than I could have imagined. The buildings are so tall, look at them soaring so high. And the pretty flags and banners.
This scene again.
Oh, Daddy, why did you wait so long to bring me here?
Because, my little moppet, the castle can be as dangerous as it is beautiful. Much like its inhabitants, really. This is even more dangerous than the likes of you and I. Keep your wits about yourself, my dear. There's magic about here, no mistake. Ponies appearing and disappearing all the time, that is.
So I see that this filly has,
Disappearing won't bother these folks.
2 fathers, I think.
Oh, magic! Real
I
magic!
wonder which father is
You want to
talking.
see some, Daddy?
I've no doubt, my love. These unicorn folk can't seem to live without it.
I wonder if it's the unicorn.
I don't mind. Oh, some pony has to raise some or the crops don't grow. Oh, step lively now, there will be plenty of time to cook after we've delivered our goods.
Wow! Is that where we're going, Dad? The other buildings were so stately, but this one looks like... Why, I don't know what it looks like. So many bright colors, so many happy faces. And the smell... Oh, what is that heavenly sweet smell?
I knew
Cupcakes?
you'd like it, dear. Yes, this is that unicorn feather sweet shop.
Let's hope it's not
combination.
Rainbow Dash cupcakes.
It is a sight. It looks like a sweetie itself, it does. Best we bring our produce round this back. These unicorns can get right stuffy back. What sorts cannot do their front doors and that? What sorts can't?
Do we have to? It's so dark this way. The front is so inviting.
Front or back makes no difference to our business, Moppet. Business first, then, as I say, plenty of time for gawking and messing about before we go home.
But I don't ever want to think about going home. Not yet. This place is so amazing, Dad. I wish we could stay here forever and ever.
Yeah, we do get the point that you can't stay at a party forever.
Put such thoughts from your mind. Oh, here's our patron now. Ho, Gov. Brought you a fresh shipment, I have, and my little one, as you suggested. She's ever so fascinated by your shop, she is. Is it alright if we have a step in and have a look about?
Certainly. Why, I insist, good sir. Come right in. Ah, and is this the daughter you spoke of so glowingly?
Indeed, she is your.
Oh, hold on. Is the unicorn Fancy Pants?
And our pride and joy.
Hello, little one. I do so adore children.
So,
It's why I took the
so I
shop over
think
when my dear
the
grandmother
pony,
passed away.
the actual pony, is
He closed the door.
is the father.
Looking at it. Was that magic, Da?
Indeed, it was, dear. Now mind your manners. Don't whisper in front of the gentle goat.
Here you are, little one. A taste of something sweet, as I promised your father.
Oh, cool. I've never tasted something like this. It's so rich and creamy. Hey, what's it called?
Chocolate. One of the finer varieties we offer here. Here, have some more.
My goodness. This
Well,
sounds even
don't
sweeter
give her
than
too
that.
much.
I love it. I'm
She'll get a
fine.
wicked bad
I can't
tummy
believe
ache.
it. I could just eat them all day.
I'm so glad you feel that way.
Here now, you'll spoil the child, you will. We've not but greens and flowers to eat at our home, and we count ourselves quite lucky to have that with this unnatural cold we've been having.
Please allow me to indulge the child. I do so love to see a happy, smiling face on some pony who truly appreciates my confections. It won't hurt her, I assure you. Here, child, try this one. I think you will find it most interesting.
Oh,
What is it?
this one tastes funny, Da. It's sweet enough, but it also tastes kind of chilly. I feel
Is it
funny.
chili?
Of course you do, sweetheart. Oh,
Let's hope it's
sugar
not
you
chilly.
little pony bound to make you feel odd. Oh, I think that's enough, Gov. Begging your pardon, but she's just not used to such fancy things as you have here.
Yep.
Oh, Da.
I bet that's
You're
Fancy
really
Pants.
Weird. Or floating. Strange. Da? Da? Where are you? Why can't I see? Why can't I
Uh-oh.
hear?
What's happening?
What did you do? Where did she go?
What
She's
happened to
on
her?
the
Fancy
future.
Pants, did you
Most children
did you
are.
give her a drug?
Nothing you need concern yourself with. The child is quite safe. You, on the other hoof, well, the city is quite dangerous, you know. There's magic about. Ponies appearing and disappearing all the time. One more little pony disappearing won't bother
Well,
me.
this is a creepypasta. It should
What do you do,
include
little guys?
I thought that was
ponies
obvious,
disappearing.
dear fellow. Making you disappear.
Is that a crackling of bones?
Nightmare Night. Fluttershy hated Nightmare Night. With furtive glances,
Now we
she
have
moved from window
Fluttershy.
to window inside her cottage,
Of
looking
course,
out onto the
she is
fog
afraid of
gloom.
Nightmare Night.
The harvest moon rode low on the horizon, washing the scene in a ruddy orange glow. With its light dying slowly by the second, the stars winked and shimmered as they grew brighter with each passing moment. Their sparkling presence pierced the misty darkness like so many sparkling knives, offering little comfort to the apprehensive Pegasus. Fluttershy could hear the distant laughter and screams floating just above the music drifting from Ponyville, but she wanted no
Yep,
part of the
it
celebration.
is a loud party, a lot of
While
screaming and
little rats
laughing,
and black cats were cute enough.
and all the singing.
She didn't even
Nightmare
mind the
Night,
tiny
what a
spiders.
ride! Give me
Even though
something
she
sweet to
refused
bite!
carve one herself, she actually thought the jack-o'-lanterns were more goofy than sinister. Those were all fine, but even so, ever since she was a little Pegasus filly, she had spent Nightmare Night quaking in terror. It didn't help that growing up in Cloudsdale, the predominant decoration in her fillyhood had been wreaths of lightning and perils of thunder. It didn't help that she was such a poor flyer that she couldn't keep up with the other Pegasi children as they flit back and forth collecting treats across the inky sky. She always ended up on her own, cold and in the dark, with only sudden flashes of lightning and ringing thunder for company. What was worse than that, on Nightmare Night more than any other night of the year, the darkness between those flashes were pregnant with far more disturbing terrors. Especially if you had a friend named Rainbow Dash who loved the trick part of Trick or Treat more than any amount of treats. It wasn't
Well,
entirely Dash's
Rainbow
fault,
Dash
though, nor was she
stood
the only
up
pony that
for
seemed to
Fluttershy
delight
a
in
lot of
Fluttershy's terror
times
when she was
on the
little.
show.
The yellow Pegasus just seemed to be an easy
That's
target
just
for
how I
spooky
think about
tricks.
her.
She couldn't help that she'd jump at the slightest sound or cringe from the silliest mask. It was just who she was. The fact her screams were thought of as adorable didn't help matters in the slightest. So Fluttershy locked herself away on Nightmare Night, No decorations, no fellowship, no candy, and certainly no visitors if she could help it. This was well known in Ponyville. Over the years, her friends had
Yeah,
learned to
Fluttershy
take it
wouldn't
easy on
want a
Nightmare
lot
Night,
of
but that
visitors
didn't stop the
visiting
occasional
her on
mischievous
Nightmare
Filly
Night.
or Colt from coming out to her cottage to torment her.
Sorry, I had to burp.
Fluttershy really didn't hold it against them. It was in the spirit of the holiday, after all. She just hated the holiday and wished every pony would leave her alone. There were, of course, the occasional unavoidable visitors who didn't know about Fluttershy's reticence. Last year, her friend Twilight had come to see her. The shy Pegasus wouldn't have minded that so much, but she had brought Nightmare Moon with her. Even if it wasn't
AKA Princess Luna.
Fluttershy had thought for sure her heart would burst in her chest. It had been one of the scariest nightmare nights in her adult life. Thankfully, nothing all that bad really happened in the end, but
Yeah.
that just made Fluttershy feel the need to be all the
Yeah,
more vigilant.
sometimes people don't
Tonight,
know
for
the age of
example,
ponies when
tonight
it
had
comes
been
to
the
like
quietest
grown
nightmare
mares,
night
you know.
that the troubled Pegasus
She wouldn't
had
know
seen in years.
if they're
The peace was welcome.
teenagers, maybe late
She was loath to
teens,
admit it.
early
but so
adulthoods,
far,
I don't
it might
know.
have been perfect. Even so, Fluttershy couldn't relax. The soothing sounds of the forest around her home in the late autumn evening should have been enough to lull any pony into a peaceful repose. However, the unusual chirp of crickets and distant calls of owls were absent tonight. There was only one kind of punctuation to every sighing breeze, infrequent but still present, the sharp screams of the pony folk down in Ponyville. It occurred to the pensive pony that the music of the town's traditional costume dance had long since died away. Thinking about it, it was late enough in the evening now that the dance should have been long over. Most of the town should have been winding down their frightening frivolity. The young trick-or-treaters heading home for their beds to get up for school in the morning, and those who had work doing likewise. It should have only been the very dedicated to the holiday, or, privately Fluttershy thought, the very stupid who would be up this late. So,
Is Fluttershy gonna say
Fluttershy
anything?
remained prowling
Anything?
the cottage, long after she would have been asleep, trying to figure out why the night's activities didn't seem to be ending. Why was it that the screams, that sounded more bone-chilling by the moment, were echoed by childish giggling? Surely
Uh-oh.
most of the children should be
Isn't
asleep
that-
by now.
Isn't that
Thus
Killer
lost in
Mare
thought,
there?
Fluttershy never saw any pony
She
walk
gonna
up
kill
to the
Fluttershy
path that
just
led to her
like she
door.
killed Applejack?
The knock echoed like a clap of thunder in Fluttershy's ears, causing her to leap straight up in the air and give a tiny squeak. She thought for sure the noise would have been enough to wake the dead, but it couldn't have been that loud as her bunny, Angel, was still sound asleep
Oh
on the
yeah,
living room
Angel,
rug.
of course.
The knock sounded again at her front door, and this time the frightened pony could identify that this was all the noise was. Carefully, she brought herself to the door and gave her traditional holiday greeting.
Go away! No candy here! Visitors not welcome on Nightmare Night.
She listened intently, hoping to hear the sound of hooves clip-clopping away. Instead, there was only silence. Still afraid,
It's that
but
Candy Mare
mildly
again.
curious, Fluttershy crept toward one of the
That
windows
Candy Mare's
that
gonna
looked
kill
out
ya,
on the path
Fluttershy.
leading from her home. There was too much fog to see anything clearly, but she could just make out a silhouette standing perfectly still. Then the knock came again.
Please go away.
Tried Fluttershy.
I just want to be left alone.
Who's the voice actress that's playing Fluttershy?
There was still no
I
answer.
can't tell if that's
Fluttershy pressed her ear to the door,
Mary Medley
hoping to hear some
or
telltale
maybe
sound
Pinky Rose.
that would let her know if her uninvited guest was going away or still haunting her doorstep. She couldn't hear anything. Then the thought occurred to her. What if the pony on the other side of the door was hurt? What if she had come here for help but couldn't speak? Her curiosity momentarily overwhelming her fear, Fluttershy tentatively opened her front door just a crack, just enough to see whoever it might be. Who
No,
was
don't
out
open the
there?
door. Don't open the door,
No pony
Fluttershy.
stood on Fluttershy's doorstep. Confused, she opened the door a little wider, letting a few tendrils of fog drift into her home. There was no sign any pony had been there. It must have just been the fragile pony's own overactive imagination, Fluttershy reasoned.
Yeah.
She breathed a sigh of relief. However,
Yep,
her
that was a
respite
close
would
one,
be
Fluttershy.
short-lived,
That was a
as it
close
shouted
one.
by a sudden high-pitched squeal from behind her that made her whirl and slam the door. Fluttershy's pale eyes darted around the room, trying to find the source of the high, keening sound. She didn't know what she was expecting, but it wasn't this. She found that it was Angel, laying as flat as possible against the rug, every hair of his normally soft bunny coat bristling, looking for all intents and purposes like a ball of pure primal fear. He was squealing like mad between teeth, gnashing in what she could only assume was terror. Fluttershy had never seen him so afraid.
What's wrong, Angel? You've never been faced by Nightmare Night before.
She tried to comfort him, reaching with one hoof to try to smooth his fur. As her foreleg came close, Angel suddenly lunged and bit Fluttershy hard enough to draw blood. With quick little leaps, he bolted up the stairs that led to Fluttershy's room. Shocked more than hurt, the tender-hearted Pegasus
Angel possessed?
didn't hear the knock as it echoed against her door.
I don't know if
once again.
Angel's possessed.
It wasn't terror that sat inside Fluttershy's heart at the sound of the uninvited stranger's return, but a new emotion that smoldered and burned. Angel had never bit her before. Whomever it was that was
Angel
out
never
there,
did that
it had scared
before.
Angel very badly, and it seemed like they wanted to do the same to her. One night out of the year, all she wanted was to be left alone. Was that too much to ask? She hated Nightmare Night. She hated the scary costumes, the frightening decorations, the noisy children, and the irresponsible adults. She hated that children were encouraged to go around menacing adults for treats. She didn't even like candy that much. Well, she wasn't going to stand for it. Whoever was at her door was about to get a piece of her mind. Fluttershy threw open the front door and filled her lungs so she could tell every pony, any pony, exactly where they could go. The words died on her lips. Pumpkins. It was as if a patch of pumpkins had sprouted in her front yard like magic. Jack-o'-lanterns as far as the eye could see.
Wow.
Their soft glow lighting the fog as the moon had done before
Jack-o'-lanterns
it set.
could be sprouting in a garden.
For Fluttershy's mind to register what she was seeing. Somehow, in the space of time it took her to check on Angel, her entire front yard had been filled with grinning, grimacing, ghoulish, and ghastly jack-o'-lanterns. They smiled up at her from her front stoop. They glowered down from the nearest trees. A few even bobbed along in the brook that ran beside her cottage, eyes glowing despite the water that must surely be able to quench their candle flames. Just on the edge of hearing, Fluttershy could sense hushed giggling moving around the side of the house.
It's that candy mare again.
This had to
It's
be
that laugh from the candy
prayer.
mare.
Rainbow Dash?
Tried Fluttershy.
Yep, that is in Rainbow.
Come out. This is a very impressive trick, but it's not very funny. Please come out. Please come out. You frightened poor Angel, and you're scaring me too. Hello?
The Pegasus shivered. The glowing faces seemed to be mocking her as the last sparks of bravery brought on by Angel's bite winked out of existence. The laughter was no longer distant now. It crept and crawled just out of sight. There were no screams
Yeah, I don't think
either.
it could be Pinkie
The
Pie
town
or
was dead
Rainbow
quiet.
Dash, Flutters.
Had the screams? Had they been sharper than last year? Had they always been as loud as that?
Here comes that laugh
How were they
again.
silent now?
Here comes the laugh.
Why was there no sound at all but a few menacing chuckles? There was something wrong about all this, especially these mysterious pumpkins. Very, very wrong. Fluttershy squeaked and shut the door as gently as possible before locking and barring it and turning to flee. She couldn't stand it. She had to get away. At each window there was a glowing grin peeking inside, their burning eyes easily visible through Fluttershy's thin curtains. She retreated upstairs, hoping to find an escape from the jack-o'-lantern's blazing glares beneath the blankets on her bed. Instead, as she entered the one place she thought would be safe from the horrible smiles, she beheld a sight that stopped her in her tracks and chilled her to the bone. It was a cool night, and Fluttershy often left one window open to let the breeze into her bedroom while she slept. She left the window open tonight as well, and the room was filled almost to overflowing with sneering, snarling, and screaming jack-o'-lanterns wreathed in fog. This close, each face was almost familiar, though twisted by agony and fear. But that wasn't what froze the blood in Fluttershy's veins. There was a red smear across her bed. It was almost black in the pumpkin light. A few scraps of white fur scattered about, washed the same hue. Fluttershy might not have noticed it in the gloom, were it not for the ponies gathered around the stain, heads low. The urgent sounds of their chewing and swallowing filled the room. One pony
Is it a
its
zombie?
head.
Or is it that
Something
Candyman
stringy
eating an
and red
animal?
caught between its teeth, dripping slowly, before snapping and sending a spray of scarlet liquid across Fluttershy's face. She squeaked in alarm. The liquid
Is
was
it the
still
candy bear?
warm, and just a little salty, as it dribbled down her face and into her mouth. Blood. Creatures stood
blood?
among the jack-o'-lanterns, tendrils of fog from the open windows spilling around their hooves. One by one, they turned from their meal. They raised their heads in unison and stared at Fluttershy, mouths set in bloody grins, unblinking eyes. They laughed as their eyes moved over towards her, the rest of their bodies motionless. Then they started to sing.
Nightmare night.
They started to move towards
knew it.
her, slowly at first,
Freaking knew it!
twitching and jerking like
The Candy
marionettes,
Mare's there!
growing slightly more fluid as they went, but only slightly. Their bodies making a strange rustling noise, like dead leaves. As they spread out from Angel's shredded body, his little eyes looked up at
it was
Fluttershy,
Angel!
glassy and dead. Fluttershy was petrified. She could feel her heart thundering in her chest, her blood coursing through her veins. She couldn't move. There was something wrong with these ponies. As they moved slowly towards her, bits and pieces of them seemed to fall off, rolling away or landing with a wet plop. They crushed the glowing pumpkins beneath callous hooves as they drew
This
nearer.
doesn't look good.
And Fluttershy couldn't help but think of them as her friends' skulls. Flames began to creep over her bedroom carpet from exposed candles. She felt herself sinking to the floor, every muscle in her body shivering and
This doesn't
shaking.
look good.
Her mind was as blank as their unblinking eyes. Fluttershy's vision began to fade as panic seized her in unrelenting jaws. Yet she could still make out their razor-sharp smiles as they drew within inches of her trembling face. Their breath was oddly sweet. The taint of blood only slightly stung her nostrils.
Sweet to bite.
Yep, something sweet to
As
bite!
the nearest pony loomed over the prostrate Pegasus, something inside her snapped. With a shout full of guttural anguish and despair, Fluttershy lunged at the distorted pony with a snarl and took a bite out of its nose. The creature flinched, a bizarre, warbling shriek rising from its throat as it backed away. With a howl bordering on madness, Fluttershy plunged through the thickening flames and shattered pumpkins. She spread her wings as she surged over the two grinning ponies and out through the open window, flying free into the chill night air.
She's free!
Fluttershy's
She's free.
wings ate up the night sky as they never had before, trailing smoke from a few smoldering feathers as she left her house far behind. Her cottage glowed from the inside, much like a jack-o'-lantern, as the fire spread
you know,
through its timbers.
The narrator sounds a lot
Even
like
so,
Twilight. Is she
could
like
have
the
sworn
voice
she
actor for
still heard
Twilight?
the laughter of
in
hungry
this?
mouths turning back to their feast.
Uh-oh.
She flew blindly for a time, the stars of little use enlighting the thick fog. She had to find help. She couldn't handle something like this on her own. No pony could.
I don't want to
She
see no
darted through
blood.
the mist, doing her best to make her way to the home of the one pony she thought might be able to help. As she neared the library, the fog only seemed to grow thicker. The town was silent and still, an effect of dense fog, or because every pony was gone. Fluttershy didn't know. She knocked as loud as she dared on Twilight's door, her eyes closed tight in prayer and terror, and more than a little anxiety. When there was no response, she began to beat loudly against the door, her fear of being discovered dwarfed by the realization that she might truly be alone. That was when she heard the sound of giggling behind her. She whirled,
It's the Candy
expecting one
Mare
of those
again.
horrible monsters
She's
to
following you,
behind her.
Fluttershy!
She wasn't entirely wrong. The figure was tiny, no larger than a foal, and it still wore the remnants of a Nightmare Night costume. The end of a pillowcase was held tight in its mouth. Though the makeshift sack clearly held candy, there were other things that caused red stains to cover the otherwise white linen. Half the thing's face was missing. That didn't stop it from grinning wide as it lay eyes on Fluttershy. Fluttershy launched herself into the air without hesitation, rising high into the sky once more. For a moment she completely lost her bearings. Fortunately, it wasn't long before the mist started to melt away, letting Fluttershy see what had come of Ponyville. It was a nightmare brought to life. Down below,
Yep,
horrified
one
Pegasus
nightmare
could see
brought
the
to
twisted
life.
forms of
She's
more
gonna
ponies
gather up
like
her
those that
bearings.
had been in her bedroom. They moved among the tattered Nightmare Night decorations and spilled candy. Some houses were burning bright as fires spread over thatched roofs, while other homes stood dark save for glowing jack-o'-lantern smiles. The worst part were the bodies. So many tiny bodies still in their costumes. Some were dragging themselves around like the little creature Fluttershy met at Twilight's door. Others painfully still. What was worse was she found clusters of them eating and laughing. The strange ponies were thickest near the center of town, but they were spreading in all directions. They ate as they went, parading through the streets by the light of jack-o'-lanterns, their laughter carried on the wind, as well as a childlike song. Nightmare Night, what a fright. Give us something sweet to bite. Fluttershy shivered uncontrollably. The shock of what she had been through, what she had now witnessed, was finally setting in. Her wings felt as though they were about to give out. She needed to land. Fluttershy had no idea where to go. No matter where she flew, the jerky stop-motion movements of these terrifying ponies greeted her. Or worse, the half-eaten remains of some pony Fluttershy once knew. Some pony she had talked to, or avoided talking to. Some pony she had never had the opportunity to get to know. This was worse than a nightmare. With no other choice, she fled for the cover of the Everfree Forest. Instinct told her to hide and hope that whatever was happening, some pony else could fix it. It wasn't until she was shivering in the dark beneath the trees, her heart still thundering in her chest, that she realized she had a sweet taste in her mouth. Of all the odd things that had happened tonight, this might have been the oddest.
Is it blood?
though
Let's hope it's
the
not blood.
most horrible.
Is Fluttershy a cannibal?
Not once in the entire terrible escapade had Fluttershy eaten a single piece of candy. She had no way of explaining it, yet the sweetness was in her mouth, making her stomach roil in displeasure. The only thing she'd taken a bite of recently had been... Fluttershy just knew she was going to be sick.
Yeah. I'd be sick too if I was drinking someone's blood.
No more! I can't take any more!
Subject has expressed the desire to cease for the day, suspending this cycle while the testing chamber is cleansed and the subject is prepared for the next round.
No, not again. I'll be good. Please, I'll do whatever you want. Just don't make me eat for a little while.
Preparing subject for manual evacuation.
Not again. Oh, Mom, Dad, anybody, please! Please help me! Make him stop! I can't bear the pain and the humiliation.
Regurgitation and defecation complete. Continuing with notation.
Is this really gonna be sick?
Chamber is cleansed.
Let's hope
Batch
she doesn't
5
get
through
sick.
6. Cocoa butter, salt, sugar, habanero pepper, and a dash of a warming spell. Subject's response, pained and gagging, begging for water. Describes flavor as like eating fire. Suggests a different type of pepper, a milder spell, or increasing the amount of cocoa butter in the next round of testing.
Why are you doing this to me, mister? What did I ever do to you?
Batch 5337.
Yeah, what did she do
Split
wrong
cocoa
to
butter,
you?
milk and sugar. Layered over live
She
grasshopper
didn't do
with a
anything
variant
wrong.
of a preservation
She
spell
never
to
did
maintain
anything wrong.
freshness and technically keep the insect alive. Subject's response, positive until infirmed what she had been eating. Result, profuse vomiting. Suggestion, market confection as a mystery crunch, or as a delicacy to the aristocracy.
Why won't you answer me?
Batch 5338. Boiled sugar layered into a hard ball with the aid of a pressure spell. Subject's response, drew succulently upon said candy. When forced to chew for experimental purposes, some of the subject's teeth were broken. Blood and tooth chips spat from subject's mouth along with confection. Confection itself seemed unfazed. Suggestion, market candy as a jawbreaker, with warning about possible hazard. Supplementary note, subject's teeth are deteriorating much quicker than previous subjects. Suggest either reducing sugar content of remaining tests, or liquidation and acquirement of the next subject.
Liquidation? What are you talking about, mister? Please, when can I see
Yeah, just let her see her father.
Go home and see my mama. I promise
Yeah,
I won't
you're the
tell
one who
Mama
made her
what you're
disappear.
doing.
She deserves to go back to her
Just let me
father.
go. My teeth hurt. My tongue and throat burn. My stomach is killing me. If you won't let me go, at least feed me something other than candy.
Yeah, it's
Something
you
other than
who
candy?
made her eat too
I
much
may have
chocolate.
just the thing. It's possible it could stay.
Yeah, I could disappear if I ate too much chocolate.
Yes. And it might just be
So that doesn't have a drug in
Batch
it.
5339. Enjoy, subject.
What is this? It tastes spoiled. I mean, thank you, mister. I'm really happy this isn't more candy, but... it's so tough to chew.
Batch 5339. Subject indicates that the meat has a spoiled flavor and is difficult to chew. May have to allow for further aging to break down connective tissues. Application of heat might help with this, as well as the flavor. But advise avoiding this until a method of disguising the stench of cooking pony flesh can be devised.
Pony flesh? What did you feed me?
Subject's parental unit,
What?
or what was left of him. Most of him is in the midden heat by now, but I thought I'd keep a few scraps to try aging techniques on his meat. It's chewy, you say? I'd hoped it would be fairly tender by now. Oh dear, retching again. I'll have to reactivate the cleansing spells all over again.
Why? Why would you do this to me? Daddy, no.
We have many more tests to get through
Dude,
today,
you should
and your mouth
probably
is bleeding.
stop it. You're
Not
kinda
crying.
hurting her.
So please, do shut up.
That was it? Well, okay then, that was it. Oh, Scribbler! Wait, what about Scribbler? Huh. She's in this too, huh? Gotta say, what about Scribbler must be popular. Yeah, she could be a popular fanfic reader. So yeah, that was part 2 of Something Sweet to Bite. And, sorry I didn't talk too much. I mean, sometimes I would just like to listen through the whole story. I mean, yeah, I did talk in some of the parts, yeah. But, yeah, it didn't have too much, like, terror in it. Yeah, I mean, this part wasn't too scary, but let's hope the third part might be scary. But let's save that for another reaction video. Once again, guys, thanks for watching, and ahoy!